how do ideas spread? How do, for example, the ideas of some of those people here spread? They're all very accomplished, insightful thinkers and doers. They're all people that if you had to meet them, they probably inspire you and maybe change a bit the way you look at the world. There are people who have reached millions online, particularly online and not only. And so the question is really, how do their ideas and how in general ideas spread? And that's the question at the core of what we try to do at TED. We are, of course, organize conferences, TED and TED Global in particular. We run the website that most of you certainly know. And we also use a series of other tools and channels, a fellowship, a prize, social networking sites, and of course TEDx, to help ideas spread. And it's really about building a platform and a mechanism for this, for people to share ideas and for ideas to travel far. And in the process of doing this, we have learned a few things and also taken some steps. And I would like to share three of them with you today. Three mechanisms for making it easier for ideas to travel far. And the first, of course, is about access. And it's about lowering the barrier to access. For us, this barrier was particularly language. If you went to the TED website 15 months ago, it said, riveting talks by remarkable people, free to the world. And the talks were there and they were free. But they were not exactly to the world because they were all only in English. And now, as Liad said, you go there and you find an additional entry in the menu, you click on translations, and you get a list of more than 70 languages in 15 months. In all of those languages, there is at least one, very often dozens, and even more often hundreds of talks with subtitles. So you pick Hebrew, and you go to a list of the 220-something talks that are available. You select one, and you get to a talk that's subtitled in Hebrew. By the way, one of the two translators here is the one who's in the room. And this is a way to lower the barrier to access. If somebody doesn't speak English well enough to listen to, in this case, Brian Cox, physicist, they can still watch the video and get the translation, the subtitles. Not only, if you click on this link, a full transcript opens up, which means that if you are in a region where there is not enough bandwidth to actually watch the video, you can still read the text. If you don't have time to watch the whole 18 minutes of the video, you can still scan the text. And because it is text, it is totally indexable by Bing and Google and all the others, so it's easy to find. It's searchable. And those are all mechanisms by which you can lower the barriers to access these great speakers and these great ideas for anyone around the world with an internet connection. How do we do this? Liat has mentioned it before. We do it basically by calling out on the TED community. All the translations are done by volunteer translators. There is a mechanism in place for quality control, but it's all the work and it all rests on the shoulders of the TED community. All we do is really we create a framework and a structure to make this happen. And there are thousands of volunteer translators working on this right now, and more than 6,500 subtitles already active on the site. So mechanism number one, lowering the barrier to access. The second one is, how can we create spaces for people to engage with the ideas, to do something with them? We do our conferences, we put 50 speakers on stage, they each come up with great ideas, and then what? And then people get inspired by them and want to act behind them. And for some of them, we actually help structure that inspiration and that action. We create spaces for engagement. That's, for us, the TED Prize. The TED Prize is given once a year to individuals, remarkable individuals, based on their past achievements and also based on the future vision. And they get two things. They get some money, $100,000, and they get to come to TED, give a speech, and express a wish, what we call a TED Prize wish. Basically telling people in the room, and whoever watches the video afterwards, I wish to do this. Help me make it happen. The winner of this year was Jamie Oliver, the British cook. It's too new as a wish only 2 months ago to really go into details, but of course it's about food quality, food awareness for children and families, and fighting obesity. But just to give you an example of a couple of examples of how the TED Prize works, how do you create spaces for people to engage with some of these ideas and visions. Neil Turok won the prize a couple of years ago. He's a physicist from the UK. And his wish was, help me take a model of a very successful school for mathematically gifted African kids in Cape Town and replicate it across a dozen different African countries. And many people from the TED community stood up and said, I am interested in this, and helped him. And 2 of those schools are already open today, and others are in the pipeline. Karen Armstrong is a religious scholar from Britain, and her wish was, help me draft and then disseminate a charter for compassion, a document written by representatives of all the major religions, including the 3 Abrahamic religions, at the highest level, that would define what is the common ground among the religions. Instead of always talking about what divides us, let's look at what unites us, at where is our common ground, compassion. And the charter was drafted, and it was with input of thousands of people from around the world and a committee of representatives of the major religions, and it was released last November, and it's traveling around the world in many different ways. And this is Sylvia Earle's TED wish. Sylvia Earle is an American oceanographer, probably the utmost American oceanographer. She came to TED February 2009. She said, you know, guys, the oceans are really dying. They are not in good shape. Pollution, overfishing, acidification. I wish that you help me to raise awareness, and then put in place a campaign to create marine protected areas, numerous enough and big enough to reverse those trends. Basically, I wish that you help me save the oceans. Not exactly a tiny, tiny project, right? But the TED community has many ways of working. And it has taken about a year to get all the resources and engagements that people offered for this vision to come together. And the first step was taken 2 weeks ago when TED conference took place at the Galapagos. It was at the same time a conference and a brainstorming on which are the priority projects to be launched. They will hear a lot about Mission Blue in the coming weeks as we start now publishing the speeches that were given there and starting the campaign. So this as well, like the translation project, rests on the shoulders and on the passion and engagement of the TED community. We only play there a catalytic role and an organizing role. Everybody can line up behind any of these projects and say, you know, I am a web designer, I offer to design your website. And others say, I'm a billionaire, philanthropist, and you know, my whole organization is at your disposal, and everything in between. And we just help structuring and coordinating this kind of engagement from the broader TED community. So, lower the barrier to access, create spaces for engagement, and then the third point is democratize the ideas. And this is TEDx, of which you are part of today. TEDx for us is a way to answer a question. The question is, why don't you, TED, come to Tel Aviv or Kuala Lumpur or Moscow and do a TED event here? And we can't just multiply the TED conferences, but now we can answer, well, you can do it, like Shimon and Maya and Liat did here. You can come and ask for a license. The license is totally free. We are not in it for money. We don't get any money out of this. The license is free. You need only to agree to stick to a dozen ground rules. And once you do that, just to make sure that is the TED format and the TED approach to selecting speakers and the TED ethos and atmosphere in the room. Once you get the license, then you go off and do your event. When we started this, we thought we will have 20 or 30 events in the first year. And this was 1 year and 2 weeks ago. That's when we started TEDx. And instead there have been 300 of them all over the world. From Stockholm to Ljubljana, from Bucharest to Tokyo, from Dubai, there's the big X down there at the bottom, to Sydney, and you name them. So it has spread really much faster and much wider than we expected. And all this, yet again, is based on community work and people that are just passionate about TED, about the ideas of the speakers of TED, about this model of sharing ideas and the basic concept that sharing ideas is good and can really change the world for the better. Now, one of the interesting things here is that TEDx has spread also to places that we had no expectation it would ever reach. This is Kibera. Kibera is the biggest shanty town in Africa. 1 million people are said to be living there. It's in Nairobi. And somewhere there in the middle there is a shack, which is a church. And in August, TEDx Kibera took place there. This guy here, Tony Ndungu, and yes, they deserve that. This young guy here is an entrepreneur, Tony, and together with a friend of his, a development aid worker, organized TEDx Kibera. He gave a short talk about being an entrepreneur in Africa today, a young entrepreneur. They watched a couple of TED videos, and 70 people showed up, and they had an afternoon of TEDx in the middle of Kibera. They're preparing the second one right as we speak. And this is Fatehpur. It's a town of 80,000 in the middle of Rajasthan, India. And there lives the family of Mazarat Daoud. Mazarat is a 29-year-old single Muslim woman. She was at TEDx Dubai last fall, and she was inspired by it. She went back home and she said, I want to bring this here. We need this here. She started calling up speakers from all over India, including some big names. They all said, yes, I'm coming. And then she went to see the council of the local community school, and they said no. They said no because they said, I don't want this event here, because the council is all male, and they were afraid that it would reflect bad on the school, and the imams may have something to say about a young single Muslim woman organizing an event with male speakers and standing up in front of them, introducing them. She didn't give up. She garnered support, and she printed flyers, and she spoke about it around town, and she became the talk of the town. And then she went to see the headmaster of the Hindu school, asking for his venue, and he said, yes, do it here. And she did. This January, 1,000 people showed up. And that's Mazarat introducing the speakers. So when we see these kind of things coming in from the reports of the TEDx events at TED, we are really amazed at how far those 18 minutes when somebody shares an idea with insight and passion, how far they can travel. And all we do really is we try to put in place some mechanism to make that easier, to make them travel even further, lower the barrier to access, create spaces for people to engage and act upon those ideas, giving TEDx organizers our brand and our content to create their community, because now we are all part of the TEDxTelAviv community, but somehow we are also part of the big, wide TED family around the world. And that's really something that comes down to one single, simple truth. And the simple truth is, when you share, community happens. So thank you for being part of this community. Thanks for listening. Thank you.